If you're a hardcore Marvel fan like us, then this video is going to be the perfect informative piece. Today, we're diving deep into something that's been on every Marvel fan's mind lately, the complete anatomy of the MCU's Phase 5 and what Marvel Studios is really planning for the future. Trust us, after all our research, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than you might think, and some of it's actually pretty wild. So let's break this down together, and we promise we'll cover everything you need to know about where the MCU has been and where it's headed next. Before we get into this explanation, we do have a very quick request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The complete Phase 5 timeline. So first things first, let's lay out exactly what Phase 5 actually was, because honestly it felt like it lasted forever but also somehow flew by at the same time. Phase 5 officially kicked off in February 2023 with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and wrapped up in July 2025 with the finale of Ironheart on Disney+. That's right, we've officially moved past Phase 5 now and we're heading into Phase 6 territory. Phase 5 gave us 6 theatrical films and a whole bunch of Disney+ series. On the movie side of things, we got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America: Brave New World, and Thunderbolts. For the shows, we had Secret Invasion, Loki Season 2, What If Seasons 2 and 3, Echo, Agatha All Along, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Daredevil Born Again, and Ironheart. Now, what's really interesting here is that Phase 5 was supposed to be this big, cohesive chapter in the multiverse saga, but if we're being completely honest, it ended up feeling more scattered than anyone expected. But we'll get to that in a minute. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the Kang introduction. Let's talk about how Phase 5 started, because Quantumania was positioned as this massive game changer for the entire multiverse saga. The film took Scott Lang and his family into the quantum realm, where they encountered Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. Kang was being set up as the next Thanos, this big bad who could drive the entire narrative forward through Phases 5 and 6. The movie revealed that Kang had been responsible for the multiversal war that He Who Remains talked about in Loki Season 1. The Council of Kangs had actually banished him to the quantum realm out of fear of what he could do, and he'd been building an empire there ever since. The film's mid-credit scene introduced us to 3 more Kang variants: Immortus, Rama-Tut, and Centurion, who were planning their multiversal uprising after learning about Kang's apparent death. But Quantumania underperformed at the box office, making only around $476 million worldwide against a production budget that was reportedly over $300 million when you factor in marketing costs. It became one of the weakest performing kickoff films of any MCU phase, and that set a troubling tone for what came next. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, James Gunn's swan song. Now, if there was a bright spot in Phase 5, it was absolutely Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James Gunn delivered an emotional, heartfelt conclusion to his trilogy that made $845.6 million worldwide and was both a critical and commercial success. The film focused on Rocket's tragic backstory, revealing how he was experimented on by the High Evolutionary as part of a plan to create an ideal society on Counter-Earth. We met his fellow test subjects from Batch 89, Lila the Otter, Teefs the Walrus, and Floor the Rabbit, and watched as the High Evolutionary's cruelty drove Rocket to escape. It was genuinely one of the most emotional storylines the MCU has ever done. What made this film so special was how it gave every Guardian a proper ending. Drax and Nebula became caretakers for rescued children. Gamora found her place with the Ravagers. Star-Lord returned to Earth to reconnect with his grandfather, and Rocket became the leader of a new Guardians team. Even Adam Warlock, who started as an antagonist, ended up saving Star-Lord's life and joining the good guys. This was Marvel firing on all cylinders, and it showed what Phase 5 could have been if everything had gone according to plan. The Marvels, the biggest box office bomb. And then we got The Marvels in November 2023, and honestly, this was where Phase 5 really started to stumble. The film brought together Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau as their powers became entangled, causing them to swap places whenever they used their abilities simultaneously. Despite being a fun concept with good chemistry between the 3 leads, The Marvels became the lowest-grossing MCU film of all time, making only around $206 million worldwide. When you consider that the production budget was reportedly over $370 million, this was a complete disaster financially. It became the first official box office bomb in MCU history. A lot of factors contributed to this failure. Superhero fatigue was really setting in by this point, the marketing wasn't strong enough, and honestly, the film was caught in the crossfire of audience frustration with Phase 4 and early Phase 5's lack of direction. Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2, the streaming side. On the Disney Plus side, Phase 5 started with Secret Invasion, which should have been a massive event series, but it ended up being completely underwhelming. The show followed Nick Fury as he worked with Talos the Skrull to uncover a conspiracy by renegade Skrulls who were planning to take over Earth by posing as different humans. Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn did great work, but the writing was criticized, especially the finale, and it just didn't live up to the hype. But then we got Loki Season 2, and this is where Phase 5 delivered something truly special. The season followed Loki as he tried to prevent the collapse of the temporal loom and save the TVA. After spending centuries learning about temporal mechanics and trying every possible solution, Loki made the ultimate sacrifice. He destroyed the temporal loom and became the god of stories, literally holding the timelines together at the end of time. This transformation saw Loki sitting on a throne, sustaining the multiverse in a tree-like structure that resembled Yggdrasil from Norse mythology. It was a perfect character arc for someone who started as the god of mischief and ended as the protector of all existence. Tom Hiddleston's performance was incredible, and this might have been the most satisfying ending any MCU character has received. Deadpool and Wolverine, the billion-dollar savior. After the Marvels bombed, Marvel needed a win, and Deadpool and Wolverine delivered in a massive way. This film became the second huge success of Phase 5, making over $1.3 billion worldwide and becoming the MCU's sixth highest grossing film overall. Ryan Reynolds returned as Wade Wilson, who was approached by Mr. Paradox from the TVA with news that his universe, Earth 10005, the Fox X-Men timeline, was decaying because Wolverine's death had unanchored it. Instead of accepting escape, Deadpool went on a multiverse hunt to find a new Wolverine to save his world. He found a variant who blamed himself for the deaths of his fellow X-Men and wore the classic yellow and blue suit out of shame. The two ended up in the Void, that wasteland from Loki where pruned timelines and people go. There, they encountered Cassandra Nova, Professor Xavier's evil twin sister, along with other forgotten heroes like Elektra, Blade, X-23, Johnny Storm, and even Channing Tatum's Gambit. The film was basically a love letter to Fox's X-Men universe, while also bringing those properties into the MCU fold. What made this work so well is that it didn't take itself too seriously. It embraced the chaos of the multiverse, and it gave fans exactly what they wanted. Wade Wilson and Logan together, cracking jokes and kicking ass. Echo, Agatha All Along, and What If? Echo launched in January 2024 as the first Marvel Spotlight series, focusing on Maya Lopez as she returned to her hometown and confronted her Native American heritage and her past with the Kingpin. The series was released simultaneously on Disney Plus and Hulu and carried a TVMA rating, making it Marvel's first mature-rated series. Reception was mixed, with the show earning praise for its representation but criticism for its pacing. Agatha All Along premiered in September 2024 and became one of the better-received shows of Phase 5. Catherine Hahn reprised her role from WandaVision as Agatha Harkness, who had been trapped powerless in Westview. A mysterious goth teen helped free her, and together they assembled a coven to travel the Witch's Road, a magical gauntlet that rewards survivors with what they're missing. The series was praised for its performances, plot twists, and LGBTQ representation. What If came back for both Season 2 and Season 3 during Phase 5. Season 2 dropped in December 2023 with 9 episodes exploring different alternate timelines, while Season 3 premiered in December 2024 with 8 episodes, marking the animated series' conclusion. The show continued to explore fascinating what-if scenarios, with Jeffrey Wright returning as the Watcher. Captain America Brave New World and Daredevil Born Again. Captain America Brave New World hit theaters in February 2025, giving us Anthony Mackie's first solo film as Sam Wilson's Captain America. The movie saw Sam investigating a conspiracy theory involving President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford in his MCU debut. The big draw was Ross transforming into Red Hulk, bringing that character to live action for the first time. The film also brought back characters from The Incredible Hulk, including Liv Tyler as Betty Ross and Tim Blake Nelson as the leader. Despite these elements, the movie struggled at the box office, making only $415.1 million worldwide against a budget that reportedly exceeded $180 million before marketing and reshoots. It received mixed reviews with a 47% Rotten Tomatoes score and a B- cinema score. Daredevil Born Again premiered in March 2025 and was a huge deal for fans who had been waiting years for Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock to return. The series went through significant creative changes during production, shifting from a procedural drama to a direct continuation of the Netflix Daredevil series. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio delivered phenomenal performances, with Kingpin running for mayor, leading to some of the most brutal scenes Marvel's ever produced. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and Ironheart. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man dropped in January 2025 as an animated series exploring Peter Parker's origin in an alternate timeline where Norman Osborn becomes his mentor instead of Tony Stark. The cel-shaded animation style paid homage to Steve Ditko's early Amazing Spider-Man books, and Hudson Thames voiced Peter Parker. The series received positive reviews for its action, comedy, and nostalgic feel. Ironheart concluded Phase 5 in July 2025 with Dominique Thorne reprising her role as Riri Williams from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. The series followed Riri as she returned to Chicago after being kicked out of MIT for selling her inventions and papers to other students. There, she encountered Parker Robbins, also known as the Hood, a magically powered villain who pulled her into a life of crime. The show explored technology versus magic while dealing with Riri's trauma from losing her stepfather and best friend. Thunderbolts, the Phase 5 finale film. Thunderbolts arrived in May 2025 as Phase 5's theatrical conclusion, and it was actually pretty damn good despite underperforming financially. The film brought together Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova, Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes, David Harbour's Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell's John Walker, Hannah John Kamen's Ghost, and Olga Kurilenko's Taskmaster. They discovered they'd been manipulated by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine into a death trap and had to work together to survive. The real surprise was Louis Pullman as Bob, who turned out to be the Sentry, one of Marvel's most powerful characters. The film ended with the revelation that this team would become the New Avengers, setting up their future in Phase 6. For Florence Pugh's Yelena, being part of this team gave her purpose and a family after losing Natasha, which was a beautiful character moment. The Kang Problem and the Multiverse Saga's Struggles. Now, we need a moment to talk about the elephant in the room, the Kang situation, and why Phase 5 struggled so much overall. When Jonathan Majors was cast as Kang, Marvel was building the entire multiverse saga around him. He was supposed to be the next Thanos, the central threat that would tie everything together. But then, Majors faced legal issues and was ultimately convicted of assault and harassment in December 2023, leading to Marvel firing him. This created a massive problem because Quantumania had already introduced Kang as the big bad, Loki Season 2 featured Victor Timely, and the Kang Dynasty was supposed to be one of the two big Avengers films concluding the saga. Marvel had to pivot away from the Kang storyline, and that pivot happened at the worst possible time, right at the start of Phase 5. This helps to explain why Phase 5 felt so directionless. Projects like Deadpool and Wolverine were reportedly supposed to feature the Council of Kangs and the Second Multiversal War, but those plans had to change. Technology in Shang-Chi and the Eternals that resembled Kang's tech from the quantum realm suddenly had no payoff. Reed Richards' teleportation technology from Multiverse of Madness that matched Kang variant's tech became a dead end. The box office disaster. Let's talk numbers, because Phase 5 broke an unfortunate MCU record. It became the lowest grossing phase in MCU history except for Phase 1. The phase made a total of $3.6 billion worldwide, which is actually less than Phase 1's $3.8 billion. When you consider inflation and how much bigger the MCU has become, that's genuinely shocking. Out of 6 films, only 2 were truly profitable. Deadpool and Wolverine with $1.34 billion, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 with $845.6 mil. The other 4 all fell short of breaking even. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania made $476 million against a $300 million plus budget. The Marvels was a complete disaster at $206 million. Captain America: Brave New World earned $415.1 million, but needed at least $425 to break even. And Thunderbolts made $381.9 million, but also needed $425 million. This marked a significant downturn from Phase 4, which, despite its problems, still grossed over $5.8 billion thanks to Spider-Man: No Way Home's $1.9 billion, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness's $955 million, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever's $859 million, and Thor: Love and Thunder's $760 mil take-home. Superhero fatigue and content overload. Phase 5 struggles weren't just about individual films underperforming, they were symptoms of deeper problems. Superhero fatigue became very real during this phase, with audiences growing tired of the constant content stream. Phase 4 had already been criticized for releasing too much too fast, with 7 films and 8 Disney Plus series. Phase 5 continued that pace with 6 films and 9 series. Disney CEO Bob Iger even acknowledged this, admitting that Marvel had diluted focus and attention by releasing too much on Disney Plus. Kevin Feige stated that for the first time ever, quantity had trumped quality, and they needed to scale back significantly. The problem was was that, unlike the Infinity Saga, which had a clear through line with Thanos and the Infinity Stones, Phase 5 felt aimless. There was no singular threat tying everything together after the Kang plans fell apart. The multiverse storyline was too vague and abstract to provide the narrative cohesion that fans had come to expect. Projects rarely felt like they were in conversation with each other, and the lack of a major Avengers team-up film left the phase feeling incomplete. What's next? Phase 6 and the road to Secret Wars. Where does Marvel go from here? Well, Phase 6 officially kicked off in July 2025 with the Fantastic Four First Steps, which was set in a retro-futuristic 1960s universe and introduces Marvel's first family as they battle Galactus. The film had been performing well and represents Marvel's pivot towards established franchises and fewer, more focused projects. The big game changer came at San Diego Comic-Con 2024 when Marvel shocked everyone by announcing that Robert Downey Jr. would be returning to the MCU, not as Tony Stark, but as Dr. Doom. He'll be the main villain for both Avengers Doomsday in December 2026 and Avengers Secret Wars in December 2027. This is huge for several reasons. First, it completely changes the trajectory of the multiverse saga. Instead of building towards a Kang dynasty, we're now heading toward a showdown with one of Marvel's greatest villains. Second, having RDJ back gives Marvel the star power and credibility they've been lacking since Endgame. And third, it allows them to explore fascinating possibilities about variants and the multiverse in ways the Kang storyline never quite achieved. The Russo brothers are returning to direct both Avengers films, with Michael Waldron and Stephen McFeely co-writing the scripts. Marvel has confirmed that Avengers Secret Wars will officially end the multiverse saga in 2027, giving this chapter of the MCU a definitive conclusion. Phase 6 will be significantly smaller than Phases 4 and 5, with only 4 confirmed theatrical films before Secret Wars: Fantastic Four First Steps, Spider-Man Brand New Day in July 2026, Avengers Doomsday in December 2026, and Avengers Secret Wars in December 2027. On the streaming side, we're getting Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, Wonder Man, Daredevil Born Again Season 2, The Punisher Special, Vision Quest, and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2. The creative reset and what comes after. Perhaps the most interesting thing Kevin Feige has revealed is that Avengers Secret Wars will provide Marvel with a creative and narrative reset. This lines up perfectly with the comic book version of Secret Wars, which saw the collapse and rebuilding of the multiverse. It's looking increasingly likely that after Secret Wars, we could see a soft reboot of the MCU that allows Marvel to streamline continuity, bring in the X-Men properly, and start fresh with clear direction. Feige has acknowledged that Marvel is already planning Phases 7, 8, and 9, and they're being much more deliberate this time. He admitted they experimented too much and expanded too quickly during Phases 4 and 5, creating an overabundance of supply rather than maintaining quality. The next saga after the multiverse saga is expected to be focused on mutants and the Fantastic Four, finally giving Marvel the ability to build a universe from scratch with all their characters available. Projects like Blade, Shang-Chi 2, Doctor Strange 3, and potentially Black Panther 3 are all in various stages of development, but many of these will likely be part of Phase 7 and beyond, rather than squeezed into the final year of Phase 6. Marvelous verdict! The next stage can make or break the MCU. While Phase 5 was undeniably the most troubled chapter in MCU history, with box office bombs, creative challenges, the Kang situation, and clear signs of superhero fatigue, it also gave us some incredible moments. Guardians Volume 3's emotional conclusion, Loki becoming the god of stories, Deadpool and Wolverine's multiversal chaos, and the formation of the Thunderbolts all stand out. This phase proved that Marvel can't rely on quantity over quality. They need to be more selective about what they greenlight, ensure better connectivity between projects, and most importantly, have a clear narrative vision that audiences can follow and get excited about. The pivot to Doctor Doom and the promise of a creative reset after Secret Wars suggests that Marvel has learned these lessons and is ready to course correct. Whether Phase 6 and the conclusion of the multiverse saga can stick the landing remains to be seen, but having the Russo brothers back, Robert Downey Jr. as Doom, and a more focused approach gives us hope that Marvel can recapture some of that Infinity Saga magic. We'll just have to wait and see if they can pull it off. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought of Phase 5 and what you're most excited for about Phase 6. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos.